My name is Dr. David Beaulieu, and I'm here with more news you can use. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about fluoride. I got wonderful information from a patient of mine who's over in London at the present time, and she made sure that this came across my desk, and so I hope everybody over in London is doing well. I thought this was interesting as well, that Dallas, Texas just put an end to 50 years of water fluoridation. Dallas put an end to this practice that was initially implemented to counter tooth decay. Finally, this has been proven to be ineffective and seems to cause more harm than good. You know, when Kansas City fluoridated back in the 70s, I was one of the doctors that fought like blazes against it. We've had the scientific research to show that it's a bad idea and it causes disease back in the 70s. But it was being pushed by some really moneyed businesses, the American Dental Association and the aluminum manufacturers, because fluoride is a byproduct of aluminum manufacturing, and they needed a place to get rid of their toxic waste. So they put it in their water supply. Now, it's hard to avoid it because you're going to find it in nonstick pans and pots. You're going to find it in your toothpaste. You're going to find it in your drinking water. The darn stuff is everywhere. It was demonstrated in a court case, a Pennsylvania suit, that fluoridation of water causes over 10,000 cancer deaths alone a year. And they finally, excuse me, they finally got rid of it in Dallas. Are you ready for this? They got rid of it because they found that they could save $1 million a year on this industrial chemical just by pulling it out of the water supply. And there's no longer sufficient evidence demonstrating that it ought to be there in the first place. But we're allowing big corporations to dump their toxic waste that would cost them a fortune if they had to dump it as toxic waste into our drinking water, and we pay them to do that. I mean, this is what big business has done to the American public for a half a century at least, and it's bad. You know, this is just one more area of I told you so. And gosh, I don't like it when I have to say I told you so. But it's been in my newsletters for the last 35 years. Fluoride's found everywhere. And now we know that it has IQ lowering properties. There's no question about this anymore. The scientific literature is replete with studies showing that it will lower your IQ. It also causes calcification of the pineal gland, a master gland, the proverbial third eye. This is bad stuff. Now, and this is just one new study, just one, published in Pharmacognosy Medicine, titled Curcumin Attenuates Neurotoxicity. That's toxic damage to the nervous system induced by fluoride, and in vivo evidence. It just adds one more experiment to support to the suspicion my foot, to the evidence that fluoride is indeed a brain-damaging substance. The Department of Zoology, University College Science, ML, Sakadia University, Udaipur, India, spent the past decade investigating the mechanisms through which fluoride induces severe neurodegenerative changes in the mammalian brain. This is scary stuff. This is scary stuff. They said, the authors, our study thus demonstrates that a daily single dose of 120 parts per million fluoride will result in highly significant increases in the lipid peroxidation activity, or brain rancidity, brain rot. as well as neurodegenerative changes in neuron cell bodies of selected hippocampal regions. In Alzheimer's, you've got mercury, you've got lead, you've got aluminum, probably aluminum before the lead, and fluoride. Those are chemicals that constantly show up in those neurofibrillary tangles. Do we want to be putting this stuff into our nervous system? Gee, I hope not. I hope your community takes fluoride out of the drinking water. I'd love to see Kansas City do the same.